There we are, folks. It is finished. Now, if you look at the size of this huge area of obsidian and understand that it actually didn't just remove surface blocks, that's all the way down to the bottom of the lava lake, you'll understand exactly how much this used. And you whack it with a pickaxe, and here it is, 5,000 charges, and it says you will only need to exert your will on it to release blistering heat. It's not kidding. This will heat up a railcraft boiler extremely quickly, saving you a huge amount of fuel. I have never actually tried using multiple ones. For example, now that I literally have 3 of them, I find myself wondering whether or not it will allow me to just fuel my firebox that way. I need to get myself out my sword, apparently, because there's an enemy that I would very much like to kill and find out if he gives me anything useful. Well, I don't know. I have not seen one of these recently. There's a fire elemental. He didn't seem to drop anything cool, unless it fell. All these little side trips. This is why I play Minecraft, frankly, because I have a hard time staying focused. Oh, I wanted to show you something else that I think is extraordinarily cool. You see this? You see all this dirt? That's because way up there in the ceiling, I set myself up a quarry. Remember I was telling you that I'd set up a nether quarry? Well, the results of this nether quarry look really neat, because, quite frankly, it converts everything to dirt. And dirt is cool, especially in the nether, where you never see dirt. I'm just delighted by it. Let me kill this guy and collect his gas tiers, and we'll go back over here. And if I'm correct, somewhere over in this neighborhood is probably where the quarry is operating right now, because it's relatively close to done. If you look on my map, you can see there's a little bit of a rectangle, and it's almost complete. That's fine. When it is, I will move it over, because quarrying the nether has been an extremely valuable process. There is one thing that I'm slightly annoyed by about the new quarries that I've been using, the ender quarries. They don't make dirt. Well, I mean, I guess it was sort of obvious when I described them and explained them and everything else that they don't, but they don't pick up dirt. So there's this huge collection of dirt that's just sort of sitting here, and my dirt barrel, actually not a barrel, but you know, my dirt storage back at home, completely empty. So I think relatively soon I'm also going to go set up a Buildcraft quarry, and use that Buildcraft quarry on a location that I've already quarried. Seems like a little bit of a waste of energy in a Buildcraft quarry, but in the end, it will get me a monstrous amount of dirt, and I probably will never have to run it again. So, it seems like a reasonable answer to me. So, anyway, there we are. I've gotten everything that I needed from the nether, and I've showed you guys the entire process of setting up one of these Railcraft Firestones, if you ever find yourself with one. Now, they're pretty hard to find because they usually only spawn underneath lava, but, you know, having switched to using a quarry in the nether, you will find them. They will end up in your collection, and it's good to know how to use them and what they're useful for. Now, let me dump all this stuff back in my inventory. And, you know, like, since we're doing a little bit of a side trip on this episode, I'm going to take another little side trip. I would really like to make this sound muffler, which means I need a note block. Let me come down here and make them. So, if you have anything that makes annoying noises in your base, or anywhere else that you care about, and you'd like them to stop making that, you can make this device. It's called a sound muffler. And I'm going to take it and hide it back in the wall a little bit, because you don't need to see it all the time. And basically what it does is it muffles any significant noises for a pretty good area around it. You'll notice this has gone silent. It's still working, still doing exactly what it's supposed to. It's just nice and quiet. If you have block breakers of some kind around, if you have animals that you don't like the noises they're making, if you have a tree farm and it's making too much noise for you, sound muffler. It's relatively cheap. We're basically talking about 8 pieces of wood, 8 pieces of wool, and a single redstone, and you can have nice, blessed silence. Now note that in this neighborhood, if I break blocks or whatever, they don't make noise either, but that's okay. Relatively easy and cheap for me. Now, what was I doing in terms of our actual nuclear reactor construction? Let me actually check. See, by the way, that trip into the nether and that being hurt by those several bats did a lot of damage to my suit. I probably shouldn't have worn it, but I think I'll be fine. Now, back to what we were working on. I have finished my ore washing plants downstairs. In fact, I'll go show you them so that you can see what we've got and what's going on. In between, I did find that the creation of overclockers was completely viable. And if you'll note, I put 8 overclockers in each one of these and 10 energy storage upgrades. It's because I want my metal formers to work as quickly as possible. That necessitated a collection more generators back there, and there will be more coming. In here, I ran some overclockers for a little while until I effectively ran out of uranium that needed to be processed. So, all is well. I am perfectly happy with all of this purified crushed uranium ore. But now we got to figure out what to do with that to move us closer to the nuclear reactor that we're trying to build. So, the next thing that we need is a thermal centrifuge. Well, how is that built? I'm glad you asked. The thermal centrifuge is made. We've already worked with coils. I worked with electric motors. I'm going to go upstairs and show you how far I've gotten in most of that. So, motors, coils, all of that was necessary in the process, I'm pretty sure. Yes, the electric motors. The coils were necessary in the process of making the electric motors. The electric motors were necessary in the process of making our ore washing plants. So we've already got a lot of the things that we need to make here. Now, I don't think we have an advanced machine casing. No, we have a basic machine casing, but no advanced machine casing. So let's see what the advanced machine casing is made out of. It's a normal machine casing. And we finally get into a need for a compressor and a macerator, both from IC2. Now, the advanced alloy needs to be compressed in a compressor. This means that I have to make a couple more tools before I can move forward to making the thermal centrifuge itself. So let's see. I need a macerator. What's the recipe for a macerator? I have a basic machine casing, for sure. I have electric. I can just toss this recipe in right now, in code, and have myself the macerator that I need. Now, I do have devices that do maceration, but unfortunately they're made by thermal expansion. They're not made by industrial craft, and so they don't produce the right recipes. So, I'm going to need this macerator. While I'm at it, I happen to know that I'm going to need a compressor. There we are. And the compressor is a basic machine casing, electronic circuit, and stone. So again, this is a recipe that is extremely easy to toss into our encoder. Goes right there, and we can come over here and request them. So, macerator. I probably only need one of these, so let's begin it. Look over here at the crafting thing, and we'll see that it is crafting up all of the necessary components, and there's our completed macerator. And now we need one compressor. Let's begin the crafting of that. Look over here, it's making wires, it's making circuits, it's making casings, and now we should have our compressors. Now, these two machines I have no intention of fully automating, because I'm not going to be using them to that extent. There is there's one possibility. Let me check something. And this rubber wood. At the moment, I have absolutely no use for this rubber wood, but if I'm correct, if I make an extractor, I can turn it into Industrial Craft 2 rubber, which is theoretically valuable to me. Though, quite frankly, I have so much of the rubber bars that I've made. I have 7,000 of them. I don't think I'm going to go through the process. So, these basic machines are going to be necessary for a couple of things that we're going to create, but they're not going to be heavy users of the system. And so I'm not going to put them where I could automate them. Instead, I'm going to put them where they're easily accessible and are connected to power. There. They have the power that they need, and now we can move on to the things needed in the thermal centrifuge. So what does the thermal centrifuge need to make this advanced machine casing that we don't have yet? It needs carbon plates and advanced alloys. Let's start with the advanced alloys. Advanced alloy is made in the compressor with a mixed metal ingot, which is made by putting iron plates, bronze plates, and tin plates in for construction. So, let's see, let's just make 10. I have copper plates. I don't have bronze plates. I'm going to make 10 of those. And we need tin plates. Let's make 10 of those. Okay, so now, what was that recipe again? Iron, bronze, tin. Just like that. So, iron, bronze, and tin. 6 mixed metal ingots. That should be plenty for my purposes. So what do we do with these mixed metal ingots? We put them in a compressor, right here, and it will go ahead and squeeze them down into a mixed metal ingot. While those 6 are working their way up, let's go ahead and make the other unusual thing that we need. Carbon plates. Again, these are going to be made in the compressor. They take a raw carbon mesh, which is made out of raw carbon fiber, which is made out of pulverized coal, which needs to be made in the macerator. So I'm just going to take a stack of coal, because I have so much of it, and toss it in here into the macerator. Now, because I'd like all this stuff to work a little bit faster, I'm going to steal some upgrades and overclock both of these by 4 or 5, just so that they get done very quickly. Actually, I'll be honest, I'm not using these machines right at this moment, so I'm going to take all of their upgrades and move them down here. So, there are my advanced alloys. That was easy. Now, coal dust. How do I convert it into the carbon fiber that I need? Let me see. There it is. In that shape, 3 of them. There, that's more than enough. I guess I need a better crafting inventory. Let's try this. That's the coal dust that I want. Let's go look at that recipe again. Shaped IC2 crafting. Perhaps it needs to be done in a... Yep, Industrial Craft 2 coal dust. That's just fine. I think it just needs to be done in a vanilla-ish crafting table. Now let's try. Interesting. Nothing at all. look here and see what's going on. I need a raw carbon mesh, which is 2 raw carbon fibers, which is pulverized coal from thermal expansion or coal dust. It's not making it. So now let me look at, because I do have pulverized coal from thermal expansion. Let's see if it will do the job. Make me sad to have pulverized all this and have it not. I wonder how I'm going to make carbon mesh if this doesn't work. I think what I'm going to do is take a risk and build a perfectly vanilla crafting table. Let's see if that's my problem, is that I'm using non-vanilla crafting tables. Completely vanilla. Pulverized coal. No. How about... I'll be right back, folks. Let's see if I can figure out what's going on. Okay, folks, I figured out the problem. It was actually pretty simple. The issue is that while NEI says that's the recipe, that's the actual recipe. So, NEI had some incorrect information in it. Had to go back to the wiki to figure it out. So there we are. There is raw carbon fiber. And when laid out like this, it makes raw carbon meshes, which when tossed into the compressor, gets compressed into carbon plates. These are necessary recipes in the process of making things here in Industrial Craft 2, but they are not used exclusively and heavily, though I may be wrong about that. They may be necessary long term. So I may have to take these tools and attach them up here and set them up. So let me take the overclockers back out of here and put them back where they needed to be. And let's put this now. I'm still working on making this thermal centrifuge, and I would like to make this advanced machine casing out of this basic machine casing. But first I'd like to check out this mining laser. I need 4 advanced alloy for that and 2 for this. So I made just enough. That's good. So let's take a machine casing. This is going to take a little bit to craft. There it is. There's the machine casing. Let's give it the 2 carbon fibers and the 2 advanced alloys. And there's an advanced machine casing. That's necessary in the process of making this. Now, let me tell this to make 2 coils and an electric motor. So, motor, craft. Now, if I'm correct, that takes up coils, so I'm going to wait until it's completely done. There. Then I'm going to craft 2 coils. Making up some wire. Now it should have the coils. So that gives us the motor and the coils and the machine casing, and I definitely have iron, so now it's just a matter of making this mining laser. Ooh, so we're going to get into some complicated territory here. Let's go ahead. I know that I have all of this stuff, so let's make an electronic circuit. And let's turn the electronic circuit into an advanced electronic circuit. You know what? I need to teach my machines how to do all of this stuff, so I'm going to go upstairs and teach all the machines, rather than just doing this solo. So let's go ahead and get myself 2 interfaces, because I'm going to need those to automate those 2 machines down below. Let's go ahead and craft those upgrades, and now we'll come over here and start teaching this the things that it needs. So first, we've already got, I think we've already got motors and coils. Yep. Previously, we have taught it how to make coils and motors, so that's easy. Now we need to make an advanced machine casing. So that needs advanced alloys and it needs carbon plates. And I have both of those on me, so let's go ahead and teach this how to make that. That's easy, that's encoded. Now it doesn't yet know how to make the carbon plates or the advanced alloys, so let's teach it. Some of this it's going to need other machines for, but like for example the compressor recipe is going to need to exist in the compressor, but we can teach it how to make this. I'm going to actually get the plates myself rather than risk having the wrong type of plate displayed. Clearly it's crafting lots of things. So we need a bronze plate, and we need a tin plate, and we need an iron plate. As soon as one of those becomes visible to us, an iron plate. So let's come back over here. We need to teach this how to make the mixed metal alloy. So that's iron, bronze, and tin. Again, clear. Iron, bronze, tin. Again, by doing this using the things that I am actually making, I'm ensuring that I have no confusion in this process. Good. So now, I've taught it how to make a mixed metal alloy, and let's go ahead and teach it how to make a raw carbon mesh. Let's clear this. Raw carbon mesh, encode, and raw carbon fiber. Now this is one where the recipe is wrong, again, so I'm going to actually pulverize the right coal because I need to make sure that I can automate all this. So, once again, back down here. I'm going to come to this. I'm going to toss the coal in it. Now, let me look at... No, I don't need to worry about the upgrades. This is a relatively quick process. There's my Industrial Craft 2 coal, pulverized. Up here, we're going to clear this out, and we're going to tell it that 4 coal dust, shaped like that, makes the raw carbon fiber. Now, we have 2 steps, the compression of these 2 things, that the machine does not know how to do yet. But that's fine. We're working our way toward it. Yeah. And there's another step that it doesn't know how to do yet, which is how to make the coal dust by running coal through a macerator. And that's fine. So I will handle those recipes separately. In fact, I'm going to do those off camera so that we get this episode finished. Now, we need to make the advanced circuit. Yep. And luckily the computer already knows how to make a circuit. So if I just do this and encode it, there's the advanced circuit made. The advanced circuit is going to be used in a lot of purposes. Now, the energy crystal is an issue, because none of the steps of this are particularly easy. But let's see, there's a vanilla crafting recipe in the process. And that needs to macerate a diamond. Okay, so I now have all of the recipes that are simple vanilla crafting recipes for making this included. And now let's go ahead and make the recipe for the laser itself. and the recipe for the thermal centrifuge itself. Let's take those and put them in. So, I'm going to take just a couple of minutes off camera, folks, just because we're getting so close to the wrapping up point, and move some machines around, reorganize some things, and make some crafting recipes. And I'll be right back. Hello, folks. I've made myself a little bit of a coup that I'm pretty happy with, and I'm just about to install this here thermal centrifuge. I taught my machines how to make it, but in the process I was looking through my recipes and I came across something very interesting. Turns out there's a recipe for making diamonds out of coal and flint. So you make this coal chunk, which is made of compressed coal balls and obsidian. Compressed coal balls are nothing more than a compressed coal ball. A coal ball is that pulverized coal around flint. I have a lot of flint. I have a lot of coal. I can now make diamonds. Very nice. So basically I've now taught my AE system right here how to make diamonds. So I'm going to go ahead and take all the diamonds that are currently in here out, just for grins, and I'm going to tell this to make 10 diamonds. We're going to look down here, and we're going to notice that it goes ahead and starts the process of making coal dust, and it compresses it into coal balls, and it compresses that into compressed coal balls, and it goes ahead and tries to make itself a coal chunk, and it's working its way down through the process. And it goes ahead and makes them into diamonds. And if I look in here, there's now 2 diamonds. So, proven out the system, I now have, well, not an infinite supply of diamonds, quite a lot of them. So, now, back down here, I need to set up this thermal centrifuge. Now, the thermal centrifuge is an unusual beast in that it requires heat to operate. It needs to warm up before the first time you can use it. But if you take a lever and you put it on the front of it, or you apply any redstone signal, frankly, it will begin using up power to heat itself up. Now, this already uses 48 EU a tick, but I've already set all of my machines up, so they use quite a lot. These use 429 EU a tick. So I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have more than enough power to keep this thermal centrifuge operating however I want to operate it. And I don't need to operate it very quickly because these ore washing plants have finished washing all their ore, so there's basically an unlimited amount of uranium for me to pass into this thermal centrifuge. I'm still wearing my hazmat suit, and so I ought to be safe enough to grab myself an import bus and an export bus and some of my nicely purified crushed uranium ore. So, I come down here, and this machine's only going to be doing one duty. All these machines that have to do multiple duties, I end up needing an interface on top of them. You know, they have a whole bunch of recipes. These machines that only have one, there's no reason for me to do that. This machine's only going to have one purpose. So I'm going to export to it stacks of purified crushed uranium ore. They're going to come in here, and the thermal centrifuge, once it heats up, is going to begin doing its process of converting that as necessary. And as always, an import bus on the back will allow me to pull that back into my system. So, let's go ahead and toss this uranium ore back out of my inventory. Even though I'm wearing a protective suit, it still makes me nervous. The heat is climbing. It hasn't yet reached its temperature. It's got another 500 or so to go. And once it reaches that temperature, this section here will produce a yellow bar that'll climb. Now, there are 12 pages of recipes here. This ends up being the tool that allows us to reprocess our uranium after we've run it through a reactor. This will theoretically, we could process all of the rest of our ores through here. It makes a whole bunch of unusual things, none of which I've really have any interest in right now. As we see, the only real purpose I have in this device right here is for processing my purified crushed uranium ore into actual usable uranium. And now this is, let me see, this is moving a little slow. It's not intolerably slow, but I'm going to craft 4 upgrades of that sort and 10 of this. If I look down here, this is working on its thing, and this is working on its. Each one of these is utilizing these metal formers to do what it needs to do, and it's using up power, which probably means that some of these things are running low on power. I may need to put another generator set back there, but for the moment I'm going to hope that all this is working like it's supposed to. You'll notice it's already made 1 of its overclocker upgrades and 4 of its power upgrades, and now 5. So while those are working, I'm going to come back over here and see how this process is running. Looks like it's just fine, and it output some uranium. Now, since we couldn't really see what it was, I'm going to come over here and we'll see what's new. What's new is that we're getting uranium-238, which if you were, a little bit of a science geek, you would realize that this uranium-238 and uranium-235 are the 2 things necessary to combine together to make yourself nuclear fuel. So these, I'm just going to take the risk of pulling these out, 1 of each, into my inventory. I am still wearing the hazmat suit, otherwise I'd be dying right now. These could be shaped into uranium blocks, which at the moment are really nothing more than a storage methodology for uranium, and enriched uranium nuclear fuel, which is really what we want to make right now. So, since I have these in my inventory, I'm going to go upstairs and teach my AE system how to make this. Again, my goal here is complete automation. I would like to know that when I tell the system that I want to run the nuclear reactor, that it will just go ahead and do it. I won't need to put back on my suit. I won't have to deal with anything that I don't want to. There we are. We have now encoded the pattern for making enriched uranium nuclear fuel inside my ME system. And so, by letting this machine run for a while so that it produces purified uranium out of my washed uranium ore, out of this purified crushed uranium ore, it makes the necessary actual piles of uranium and uranium pieces, and that will allow me to make my fuel. Now, what happens once I have the fuel? Let's craft 2 of them. Bing, made. Now the fuel needs to be put into a canning machine. This is the actual canning machine that's made now, along with an empty fuel rod. Luckily, I already taught this machine how to make empty fuel rods. It's simply made with an iron plate. But when I make a canning machine and put all of this stuff in it, then I will be able to actually make my first uranium fuel rods for my nuclear reactor. That's what I intend to do next episode, and then we'll begin working on some of the less direct requirements for my nuclear reactor. I hope to see you here next time, folks.